evening there. I'm here at the Hudson haunted house. I don't think I've ever been here before. I asked me mom, and she said, no, we'd never been there. I thought maybe we had when I was a kid, but apparently not. Looks like it's a small operation. I will give you guys a heads up with this. The directions on the website are very simple, but slightly not great. And it would behoove you to kind of do your own map questing and looking up the directions. Um, there's like a Terex road that seems to be very important, as well as Barlow, but there's also a Barrow road that you might cross. So be careful, and it's very easy to miss turns. Some of the things don't seem to have signs fairly decently. Like I was like, all right, well, turn left here. I turned left, and I went on like a 5 mile Death Star Canyon run, and it sucked. So be very careful. I had to turn around like 4 or 5 times because the direction's not super great. Looks like a relatively small operation, not really complaining about that. Seems like people are fairly keen, and I'm looking forward to it. It's a place that, again, I don't think I've ever been to before, so something new. I'm into it. So here we go. Okay, there it is. I couldn't really take that much video, and why is there a thing in my face? It's weird. Let's do this. Okay, well, I couldn't really. That better? Okay. Couldn't really take any video or anything in line as, oh, that's me. All right, again, showing my movie making skills here. Let's do this. Hey, how are you? All right, so I couldn't really take that much video in line, as it was just sort of like this jumbled line going on and kind of packed in. Overall impression, it was cute. I'm going to do a sort of extended thing, kind of reading some stuff off of website or online things, so I make sure I get a few things accurate. But it looks like it goes to something called the Hudson JCs. More information on that coming later. And it is like a fundraiser for them. Seems to be a lot of young 20s teenagers. And it's one house. It's very short. There's some stuff in it that's kind of cool. I admit there's some stuff that's cool. In fact, it's a little bit different than the normal stuff I'm used to going to. It was nice. There was one guy. There was like a black light with a bunch of sort of generic hockey masks sort of floating, what it looked like. And then one guy was in there and then would kind of like follow you. And that was actually a really neat effect. And there was one hallway where they had it with these sort of, it was like a black background with these white, they weren't swirls. I don't really know how to describe it. I guess, I mean, they were similar. If you've seen Princess Mononoke and the sort of designs they put on the warthogs and the boars, that is, towards the end when they're going to have the big battle with the humans, it was almost a little bit more like that. And the way they had the strobes on it, it was a really kind of funky effect in that hallway. It was really neat. And then it went into some strobe light and a little bit of laser and mirror thing, and with that too. So like that was a really neat part that I haven't really seen before in other things. So that was cool. It was sort of a lot of narrow. It was mostly sort of narrow sort of halls, weaving in and out of this one building, and most of the sets were sort of on slightly raised platforms, kind of railed off. Mostly simple sets. Some of them were kind of on par with some of the other places that I've reviewed, and it was peopled pretty thoroughly throughout. A lot of screaming for help type scenes, or screaming for you to get out. There were a couple of young ladies had some contortion-y thing. One was kind of yeah, just sort of like one bending back, one kind of bending up. So cool. They got people with different skills showing that off. Excellent. Good for you. Do something different. Cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's really short, and yeah, it's kind of all right. Well, this is sort of like a local fundraiser kind of thing. It kind of is what it is, so to speak. The admission price they were saying was $12 for adults. They charged at least me, I'm guessing everybody, five. So that was nice. And apparently they have a thing where when you come out, you can pay $1 and go through again. And that's kind of a speed pass lane almost. And so I thought that was kind of neat because again, I mean, it's a relatively short, sort of simple little thing. They said, I guess online they were saying they've been doing this for 50 years. It's still a pretty short, kind of simple thing. My guess is, again, without looking into it too much yet, is that this is just sort of their building. They have this for their stuff and this, and they just sort of do their best to kind of build on as time goes on with it. So that's kind of neat for a little community type haunted house thing fundraiser. It's okay. Uh, they didn't manage the line well. The line should have been maybe half an hour, maybe, and it took an hour. And the sort of queue, the way it winds in, especially after you pay for the ticket and kind of get in more, it's a very narrow space the way it's roped off, because all it is just roped off, and it's very narrow. They did have a handful, maybe half a dozen or so, sort of costumed characters weaving around the line. And a couple of them started going into the line, which was really problematic. It was really problematic because there's no real room for them to do that in line. We're not talking where, like in Cedar Point, the queues have kind of like those railings, and even a lot of places with them, those are slightly more than my shoulder width, and they're almost like dip length. You can do dips on the things, and this was pretty much that too. So going into the line and walking back through the line, not a good idea, even if we're not in COVID times. Just in general, not really well thought out in terms of that. But yeah, the line I felt was not well handled, and uh, yeah, I'm trying to make sure that in my as I'm feeling this out, I'm separating out the uh, sort of bad ride I had getting here and kept wrong turns because of the directions and like little tiny roads that aren't well lit and the sign that's really behind a thing, you blink and you miss it. So I mean it's a very I think it's a very much a product of sort of being a small country fundraiser sort of thing. So if you're around the Hudson area and you kind of want to support whatever Hudson JCs are, JAYCEE, I'll look it up, then by all means come out. I mean, my guess is maybe try and come either early or really late so you don't have to wait in line as much. Because again, I mean, I don't know if it was just tonight. I don't know if there was a kerfuffle or a thing, but I mean, the line took way too long. It did. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just sort of they were trying to give people time. Well, I mean, when they let me through, it seemed like an average haunted house amount of time between the people who went before me and me. But given that was the case, the line still should have been a way less for an hour for me. And I don't think I was fully an hour, but I was pretty damn close. And especially for such a short thing, I don't know. So, I mean, overall impression, it was cute. I think the people, the actors, the kids in it were trying really hard. they had a couple people like together and were doing scenes and we're trying to, pull people away and some people were, again screaming for you to get out or to help them or to run away or something like that. So it wasn't a lot of, screaming in your face, jump scares. So there's a few jump scare things, a few people kind of like leaning over, kind of getting in your space a little bit and stuff like that. A couple people trying to interact in some ways. So, I mean, in terms of that, like the people in it did an okay job, not bad. And yeah, there were a couple scenes in there I thought were really neat, especially that one hallway with the white designs on it. Again, I can't really describe. They weren't swirls, a lot of curves and following thing. I don't know how to describe it very well, but that was neat. That was actually a cool thing with the strobe light and have that like the lines seemed to kind of move with you. It almost had a 3D effect without having 3D stuff. It was neat. So that's Hudson Haunted House. Yeah, if you're close to it, might be worth a trip. If you really have it in you to want to hit as absolutely many things as you possibly can, okay. But I wanted to try something new, or try something different, someplace I hadn't been before, and yeah, I mean, it wasn't it didn't it wasn't a horrible haunted house. It wasn't blow me away amazing either. It was okay. So, yeah, I will finish up here and see you guys somewhere, some other time, some other where thing. Wolf? Their castle. Why are you talking like that? Why are you still talking when you said you were done? I don't know. Okay, I'm back here real quick to talk about kind of follow up what I had heard and seen for some of the organizational stuff with the Hudson Haunted House. Like I had said, it was set up by the Hudson JCs, Jaycee, in the actual sort of website with the haunted house. Apparently, JCs, I've never heard of them before, are a national volunteer organization comprised of state and local chapters throughout the country. Idea is that it's character building, doing leadership, fellowship, interaction with the local community. And apparently they at 1970 they had their charter. They've got about 50 members. They have several fundraising projects throughout the year, including the haunted house. And they'll donate to both local and national charitable organizations. And yeah, apparently it's volunteer work. Projects include haunted house and kids helping kids. JCs offer young men and women 18 to 40 the chance to give back to the community, as well as valuable leadership skills. And yeah, they've got meetings and membership and different events possibly throughout the year, and apparently it's mostly sort of a community service from what it looks like, at least on the surface sort of thing. Does not seem to have any sort of major affiliation with someone or something else. I wasn't sure, so I looked. And that's it. So, like I said, it's a non-profit sort of organizational sort of thing. So if you go to it, that's where the money and everything's going to. So there it is, closing out the Hudson Haunted House sort of thing. I just felt like I wanted to make sure that was processed in there, especially since I brought it up. And since I brought it up, might as well follow through with it. Otherwise, why bring it up? And you know what? It's kind of a, nice little way to do a little charitable work sort of thing. I mean, you go in a haunted house, but the money is going to something that's helping people then. So there you go. All right. Peace. I'm out.